This week's podcast, I'm really excited to have one of the body science family in the house, the man who earned himself a gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics, Tom Green. How are you, brother?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Loving life, and I'm really excited to hear your story. Let's rip in.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy. And I'm going to throw at the end of this one, gold medalist Tom Green. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How about you?
I'm good. Now, you're probably one of the nicest athletes that I've ever met. Is it really difficult to be an asshole in the boat? Because let's be honest, you can't be a beautiful human and win gold medals. You've got to be somebody who is driven by what you want. Like, to be a good athlete, you've got to be good yourself. If you're worried about everything around you and all the dynamics of life around you, you don't have the energy you need to be a gold medalist. Am I on track here? Like, it's just that you talk to Kenny, and I love Kenny Wallace, but Kenny's got that look in his eye, mate. You know, when you talk to Kenny about gold medals and paddling, although he's the guy next door holding the Barbie tools, he is dead set. You see it in his eyes. But when I look at you, I just see a really nice person, and you've got a beautiful history, which we'll talk about in relation to you as a human being. How did you get the grunt to be the fastest man in the world?
Well, for me, it's like I couldn't imagine racing against my competitors and them like despising me or just not liking me, and that's not the case at all with Kenny. You know, his competitors, you know, loved him and still love him to this day, and look forward to seeing him every single time he's at the course. But for me, I try and, like, it's hard to say because Kenny also did the same, and I guess it's a part of it is Kenny has taught me what a lot of the stuff I've learnt, as well as Jimmy Owens, my coach. They've kind of done the hard yards, you know, and they've really laid the foundation out for, you know, myself and many like me to be able to try and squeeze every single little bit of performance and out of our end result. And it's one of those things where it's like your equipment too. If you treat that right, it's going to look after you. And it's like if you treat everyone else right around you, you know, sometimes you might get burnt, but then also other times, 9 times out of 10, majority of the time, you know, you get looked after, and people actually just want to be around you and not just, you know, sigh and be like, okay, I'm done training, let's go. Like, yeah. I want to go. So yeah, it's just, I guess it is about balance, but sometimes, you know, you're a high performance athlete, balance is kind of thrown out the equation. You know, we're running red line 24/7.
And that's what I was trying to get here. I wasn't saying that you as an athlete, you know, had to have like a touch of arsehole in you, but what I was trying to say is, and this is tough. This is a tough podcast for me because I know you personally. We spent a lot of time together since you joined the Body Science family. You're one of the athletes I love spending time with. And the first thing you ever spoke to me about was your charity that you created to give repurposed equipment to kids in foster care. Is that the correct wording that I've used there?
Oh, we like to say pre-loved devices, because then it's just like, because, you know,
mindset. Yeah, I get it, mate. So when I talk about you and being that nice person and not having that, but you are an incredibly giving, generous person.
Thank you.
And I mean, I spend a lot of time with Kenny too, and I just love when I talk sport to Kenny. You know, you see the switch go, you know, and you go, well, the athlete just kicked in, and I love that. Like, that's something that you just don't get enough in your day. Oh, but with you, no matter how much I talk about sport, you got a big grin on your face, you're laughing, you very rarely see in you that click, but obviously you have that click because you've got a gold medal sitting at home, and not many people get those in their life. You as a person, like, I'm trying to get Tom Green out here, okay?
Yeah.
How do you switch? What is it that happens to you once you get in the boat?
Well, you know, for me, it's a process, right? Like, you can talk to literally any of the support that I've had around competition. I remember my first senior world champs, my physio was standing next to me just before I was going to walk down onto the water, and I turned to him, I was like, oh, what's for dinner? And I was like, I hope it's something good, you know? So I think for me...
You are an athlete, you're talking about food.
Yeah, true. But, you know, for me, the switch is generally, you know, just as I go into the start gate. Also, as I said, it's a process. Like, you know, as long as you've planned and you've trained everything into you that obviously you want, like your goals, if you've trained all of the trainable things you can do, it all starts from, you know, the night before, or, you know, actually it starts from
4 years before.
Yeah. But
I've heard that story.
Yeah. But for me, like, Jean, he got absolutely pissed off at me because we were rooming together, and I'll just be talking, like, I'm a nervous talker.
Yeah.
And I'll just be talking, and then I just see him just pull out his headphones and turn them on, put them on, and just start listening to music or whatever, just to drain me out. It's the switch is, that's hard because I guess at this stage, I try and be able to train and race through anything, whatever, life throws at you or whatever the day throws at you or racing. I try and just stay as plateau and as level as possible and as calm because, everything's better when you can actually take it in. And so I just try and stay calm.
So really. You're talking to everyone as you're heading out to compete. Have you got headphones on? Are you dancing? What are you doing?
Oh, sometimes I'll put some music on, but that's not really to like get in the zone. It's more so just to try and like wake up a little bit, try and get the heart rate pumping a bit. And I'm the guy that people hate on the start line because I'll like turn and I'll be like, oh, good luck, mate. Like
you're wishing your competitors good luck.
Yeah, legit. Yeah. So, before, as we're paddling around, I remember saying to one of the Germans, I was like, oh, viel Glück, saying good luck in German to him. And he looked at me, he's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, and then at the end of the competition, he's like, oh, I didn't understand you. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, no, I was annoying you. I'm sorry. Even with, team votes and stuff, I'll always like say good luck to my to say to Jean or to like if it's in a K4 to everyone around me. And no, it's just something for me. That's a part of the process for me is to just wish them all luck and wish them a good race. So I'm pretty annoying.
You don't finish that approach to life when you finish your race either, because when in your is it called individuals or singles?
K1, individual.
In your individuals in the K1, you didn't have the race you wanted. You went back to your tribe, your team, and what was the wording you told me before? You said, "Give it to me, throw it at me." What was it like?
Oh, I said so. I was lying there. I was like to all the support that was around me, my coaches and some of the support staff. I was like, just rub the salt in the wounds.
Rub the salt in the wounds. Yeah.
Like give it to me like fresh. I want to learn from this. And
it's really interesting that that's your approach you've taken after the race. Yet before the race, you're saying, "Hey, how you going? What's happening? Life's great." And you're that poppy guy. But at the end of the race, you completely. And I mean, obviously, the Olympic. This is why the Olympics is so good. It's like one chance. 4 years, and obviously, you've said to your team, rub the salt, and they're all probably thinking, holy shit, what does he mean by that? Like, that's you were true athletic out there. It just didn't go to your plan.
Yeah, well, I think, the reasoning behind that is I'd be like that in training. I've always, and in life, I've always praised brutal honesty. Like I find that's the only way that you're going to be able to move forward, because at the end of the day, you've got to know what's going on, exactly how it's going, not trying to make it, soothing to hear. And so that's, for me, that was, day in, day out at training. Jimmy, my coach at times, he'll be like, I'll ask him, how is it? And he'll be like, it's good. I was struggling with health issues at that time. And I was like, no, come on, just tell me how it is. Because I guess being able to give brutal honesty, you've also got to be able to take it. And for me, I wouldn't say that there's, that, as you said with Kenny, that vision in his eyes. But for me, it's I want to be honest with myself as well as with, the team. And that's what, I did before then. That's what I did, when I was a junior. And it's just kind of, I guess, grown on me more now that I'm a bit older and a bit more like trained, in training. I'm be able to push myself more, and I expect more from myself. So I really just try and have that brutal honesty all the way in training. And even though when you just want to hear something good, you just want your coach to be like, mate, you just, smashing it. But at the end of the day, if you want that result, you've just got to hear it exactly how it is. So,
and mate, what type of things? I mean, obviously, don't use names here because that's personal. But what type of things did the boys say to you after the race? Like you've said, let's rub salt in the wounds. Have I got that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they say?
Oh well, I guess that was heartbreaking as I was, because as an athlete you put so much expectation on yourself, and you expect so much from yourself. But I like to think of it this way: everyone's going to the Olympics to win gold, but only one person comes home with that. Only one person comes away from every 4 years achieving their goals, their dreams. So to be honest with you, they were just there for me. They were just they did say some things just about how the race went. Like there was nothing you could have done.
So it was more what happened in the race, and it was more because they had to keep you lifted because you had your next race in which you won the gold medal in coming up. So it wasn't a case of, and that's why I asked that question, because obviously, being one of the directors at Body Science, or bosses, whatever word you want to use, you always have to have people in mind. I mean, if you're not about the people, you can't achieve anything that you want. All the strategy in the world doesn't work if you don't have people.
Yeah.
So I was really interested to see what your team, and especially Kenny, because I love Kenny, said to you, because, I'm not a gambling man. I don't gamble. I don't have any gambling accounts, but I had money on you for your race, just so you know.
Sorry I let you down.
Yeah, and it's good because I realised why I don't gamble because I'm not good at it. But it's I just knew you were at, I knew your times. I had lots of chats with Kenny about where you're at, and he just said you were world class, and he doesn't throw that around easily because
I've never heard that.
sorry, Kenny. So, and not that Kenny was telling me to bet on you. He just telling because he obviously. Well, let's talk about it. Kenny introduced you to us, and it was probably one of my funnest days ever.
I remember it. So brutal, but so enjoyable. Yeah.
I think it was you came in and you went to shake hands, and Kenny goes, he's a germaphobe, he doesn't touch, and so and it just went on from there, like how to put stickers on paddles, it was one of those days where I've got it on video. I'm going to pull it out one day. It was so funny. But so there's a real relationship between three of us is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And what I really want to get is you're 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a kid, mate. You know what I mean? You've had the biggest race of your life, your individual. You've not achieved what you want to achieve. You've told your peers, rub the salt in the wounds, and you still had more races to do. I'm really interested from a perspective of, not many of us get to ever sit behind the team, the elite team, let alone the Olympic elite team. Did you need them to, was that your way to say, be honest with me? Did you really want them to rub salt in the wound, or were you looking for advice on your next race from that? What were you trying to do?
Well, of course, I'm looking for advice for the next race, but in doing that, you've got to reflect on what you've just done. So yeah, rubbing the salt in the wounds. What I mean by that is just be brutally honest with me. I don't care how much it hurts right now. Like if we're going to move on from this and you
needed that.
I've as I said earlier, like I've trained myself into this. I've trained trained day in, day out, asking these questions, with my coaches and my teammates. What could have been better? Like, I don't care. Okay, did it feel good? Yeah, okay. But what felt bad about it? And Kenny put it this way: don't train until you get it right. Train until you can't get it wrong.
Yeah, nice.
And that's that is true. And in doing that, you've got to be able to take that hard to take, that hard to swallow pill, that brutal honesty. I guess out of that, lying there and I guess, feeling a little bit sorry for myself or just being upset and just disappointed. And then you have, the support stuff around you saying, rub the salt in, like me saying to them, rub the salt in the wounds, is kind of them opening the door. Okay, well, like, let's move on from this, like, let's learn from it. And that's how I took that. And, and from that, we actually took out a lot. Like my physio, would like basically follow me through my whole warm up. Like he would just be there. I guess as that, that moral support as well as just to make sure that, I'm not overdoing things or underdoing things. And, the thing that we came away from the conversation that we had literally straight afterwards is maybe I did get myself too worked up before the race. And maybe I did do a little bit too much warm up considering, we've done 3 races just before that and the semi-final an hour and a half before. And that's where we went into the second event differently. Is I guess we try to be in tune a lot more around that and take in consideration what we've just done as well. So I actually didn't do as much in my warm up because we do a really big on land warm up and then an on water warm up as well. We took away from having those tough conversations, especially when they count. Is I guess I feel like is one of the reasons why we did win and didn't just podium. The same with my K2 partner. He kind of went through the same with his individual as well, and he was disappointed with his result because all the data and all the stuff that we've been doing, it just nothing nothing. It just didn't feel like we achieved what we could have, and I guess that's why it's called a race, is because things don't go to plan.
Yeah.
Things don't go the way you want them to, and it wouldn't be the highs wouldn't be as high as they would if that was the case, and the lows wouldn't be there because everything would go your way. So it's just being able to have that support and the people around you to actually be honest with you, no matter if you are hurting or not, because at the end of the day, our competitors don't care if we feel happy, if we feel smooth, if we feel comfortable. They're caring about themselves. They're caring about their race. And at the end of the day, if you want to be dangerous yourself on the course, you've also got to have good teammates, good competitors in your own training environment. So I guess Kenny, I keep going back to it, but he really pushed me when he was paddling and I was developing. He pushed me hard. He's probably got some good stories for you. But at the end of the day, if I didn't get exposed, if I didn't expose myself in those sessions, you wouldn't expose yourself in a race. So, and that just all comes down to just that honesty. It's like, Kenny, did he really, obviously he cared about me, but did he care how I felt about what he was telling me, come on, mate, like seriously, like, go hard, try, like stop just, making any excuse, or stop just, taking it easy just because you're hurting. Like, so yeah.
He's a weapon.
Yeah, he is.
He's a weapon. So do you think that the fact, like, you were obviously very affected by COVID, your team travels a lot to compete, and I don't believe you'd actually hit out in an international meet leading into the Olympics, had you?
Oh, like I'd done like under 23 like stuff and all this, and I did senior worlds too, but for the events that we raced at the Olympics, I hadn't competed at a senior event. Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
that is truly amazing.
Yeah, so I hadn't done K1000 at a senior level. I hadn't done K2. I didn't do K2 at all at a senior level. So yeah, it is like it's pretty incredible when you think about that. Like,
isn't it amazing?
Yeah, like we had nothing to really benchmark ourselves off apart from data.
Because you've really got to get over to Europe to know where you're at, don't you? That's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you're racing against the competitors that you'll be racing against at the Olympics, but it also elevates the level, like your level as well, because you're training like all season to go and race internationally, and you taper like properly for the world champs. You don't taper properly for, say, World Cups or nationals or whatever. So going and racing and getting a true benchmark for where you are is important. But the most important part about that travel is you go to a destination to train and to isolate yourself, to just train, recover, and and just do that day in, day out. And that's crucial. And I guess preparing here in Australia, it did make it definitely had its downsides. Like I'd like to say it had a lot of upsides, but the downsides kind of outweighed them, because there was just so much more stress involved, because you can't just go back to the hotel and go into your room and just put your headphones on, or just put music on and just chill and just relax. You would have to go home and do all these things, and life, life's life. So that did make it extremely hard, but there's also, because of that, there's a lot more pressure on you, internally and externally, but just because there's so many more moving parts and you can't isolate anything really. So it also increases like heap of variables. Like everyone's driving to and from training from different locations. Like, what if someone gets hurt? There's and people are doing more things on weekends and stuff. So what happens if they catch COVID? Those things really were hard to kind of manage out. So having the let's put it this way, I'm really looking forward to our trip overseas soon. I really cannot wait. And it is going to be cold at start, but I can't wait for that European summer. So
yeah, nice. So mate, like, how many days after your K1 was your K2?
It was literally the next day.
So mate, talk us through, you've finished your race, you're on again the next day. Did you actually sleep?
Well, surprisingly, yeah. Like, that's a thing that you also kind of train yourself into, is you sleep no matter what. Like, it's it's crucial. And I'm not the best with my sleep. I don't sleep anywhere near enough, anywhere near the amount that I should. But you've also got to have a bit of a life too. So so from what I can remember, I did have I did sleep. Was it the best and the longest sleep I could have ever had? I definitely I was definitely thinking about that K1, and even just sitting there and just reflecting. I'm like, oh man, like I just I screwed it up. I just stuffed it, and that did take a while to kind of get out of my head. But then also in the same note, like you're thinking, all right, well, like let's stop like thinking about all that. We've got a job to do, so like just get your head right, like, and just get ready to race. Like your job's not done. You're still here. You still have one more event to go, and you've got to do what you're here to do. So
it's epic. I love it. I love it. For such a young human you're on the biggest stage in the world, but to take that hit and then go, okay, so you've just dropped that and gone, new team, new boat, let's go. And this is a really interesting thing for me personally, I hope it's not boring others, but did you do a massive tactic change from what, like the salt in the wounds chat through to the next time in the boat? Did you change, like you've trained for over 4 years leading into that Olympics? For that day.
Oh yeah. 5 if you think of it as a postponement. But.
Did you change any major tactics in your life in that 24 hours?
I guess I'd like to say no, because like we still like even in the pair, I'd still try and be brutally honest. And sometimes some people like that, some people don't. It pisses people off and stuff. But to have an opinion, you've got to be prepared to feel uncomfortable. But I'd say I definitely try to hold a bit more composure.
Yep.
Especially in like the warm-ups and stuff like this, because you're warming up, you're like you feel like you're ready for battle, right? Like you're warming up, and you can feel feel like the adrenaline kind of looming
Must
around.
be out of control.
Yeah, but it's quite funny because you'd feel like that on the land when you're doing your land warm up, and then you hop in the boat, and Jimmy and Smithy, my coaches, would they'll tap you on the bum before you hop in, and they'll tap you on the shoulder, like see on the other side. But then somehow, like as soon as you start paddling, like those nerves kind of just go, and you're like, all right, well, this is
what we're here for.
Yeah, this is what we're here for. And something that I've heard is the most nerve-wracking thing would be making the Olympic team, because it's you're not going to the Olympics unless you make the team, right? So, and then once you're on it, it's just like, it's not exactly how they said how they said that it would be, because of course, it's nerve-wracking to just make it, but then of course you're going to be nervous before, say, the semi-final at the Olympics. Yeah, those nerves, I just try to compose myself as much as I can just to try and save energy, because I did work myself up pretty badly for the K1. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tom Green, Olympic champ from Tokyo, and if you want the best tasting protein bars on the market, you should try the new Body Science Moose range. Greg, you better be testing these.
Mate, they're getting drug tested. Got you covered. Did you have any last words to Jean before you hit the wall? Did you guys have a laugh? Did you say you better fucking go hard, mate? Like, where were you at? What?
Well, so Jean and I would actually separate for our on-land warm-ups.
Oh, would you really?
So I went elsewhere, and I did like my watt bike, like my stationary bike warm-up elsewhere. And then, because at that same time, I've got like, you basically you train a pattern that you do day in, day out at training with your warm-up, like, the amount of watts, how many minutes or seconds you're holding it for, trying to get lactate build-up, to try and get, your body like functioning. And then you do band warm-ups to try and like activate your shoulders and all this. And then we'll do like ball slams, and John and I will do all that apart, and then we'll come together and do like some medicine ball slams. And that will be together when we'll do that, because as soon as we do that, we're walking down onto the water. The last words were like, as we were paddling up the course, Jean was like, oh, let's just like not warm up as much, in the like for the final, because he was just like, obviously he felt like he was ready, like he didn't feel like he needed to. I'm like,
awesome.
Okay, yeah. And he was like, oh, how are you feeling? I'm like, yeah, good. Well, I was still feeling like pretty fatigued from the days before and stuff, but I was just like, okay, sometimes it's okay to lie to yourself a little bit. I feel epic, but I was like, nah, I feel good. Like, let's go, let's get it. And then obviously, the last words were good luck, and then we didn't talk for 3 minutes. 3 minutes 15. Yeah, it was just silence. All you can hear was the water on the boat, and the other crews, doing their thing and calling and all this. And I guess we just stayed in our lane and just try to have those blinkers on, but you can feel the race around you. You can't see it, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
And the whole time I could feel the Germans were right next to us in that last 200, but I couldn't see them. I was just so focused on Jean, and I was so focused on what my job is, and making sure I did everything right, making sure I didn't. The way that they put it is, for me to do my job, he's got to do his job.
Yep.
So I've got to do my job perfectly for him to be able to do his job perfectly, and vice versa. So and just that's why you just got to try and stay composed, especially in those moments. And that's what I did, and that's what Jean did too. And then we found it in us, in the race. And
you guys are incredible. Absolutely incredible. When you're in a boat in one of these type of races, what are you thinking about during the run? It's probably a really dumb question for all you athletes out there. I apologize, but are you counting? Are you listening to your breath? Are you thinking what mum's up to? What are you doing?
Well, I used to be like, thinking like super,
because you're a pretty complex human in that space. You love thinking.
Yeah, probably a little too much. But so for me, I was just thinking the first 100, I'm like, all right, push, like legit, just thinking that for the first 100. And then after the first 100, I was like, all right, like smooth, like just apply power, don't be aggressive with it, just be really consistent and as smooth as possible to allow Jean to do his job and to just have, efficiency. But then, we got to the 500, and I was just like, we got through the race, I'll continuously think, relax, focus, like every stroke, because I figured that's what I did at my first ever senior world champs in the K4. I'm like, I felt like it worked. Like I felt like I relaxed. I didn't make the boat wobble. But then, when we got to the 200 meter boys, I was just like, oh shit, we're just going past the 500. This is a long race. I'm like, oh shit. But then obviously that was only a very split. That was pretty out there thought, because I knew where I was in the race. I knew that we were at the 200 to go. But then, and then I was just continuously thinking, just relax, focus, feed, try and give as much power as I could. And the way that Jean and I work is we wouldn't just go hell for leather with all of our power in a lift. We would kind of like drip feed it. Like we would just go, like each stroke, you just add a tiny bit more power. So it's not like all there at once. And so you can do it for a longer period of time. And I guess that's where in the end, that's kind of where we're able to just keep just gaining an inch by inch. And then that also comes down to both Jean and I. We're both racers. So you can give us a plan, but if the race throws something at us, we'll, adapt, I guess. And that's also one of the things why I was so disappointed in the K1 is because I know I'm a racer. Like I know I can adapt, but I didn't. I guess I stuck too much to what I know, or to what what I know I could do, and that's why I was obviously so bummed with the K1 result. But then I was just like, all right, well, just do what you do, in the K2, and that's what we did, and it was a massive learning experience. So yeah,
it was an epic race. I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched it now and yelled at the TV. I still yell at the TV when I watch it, and I know the result. But it was one of those great races, and I think it was, for me, it was just knowing that you were there, you had a job, and even though I didn't speak to you after the first race, you're on the phone, phone call, look at my gold medal, yeah. And it was just epic to share that journey with you, and Jimmy was there and Kenny, everyone was there, and all the other crew. It was really one of my favourite parts of my 23 years of body science and sport was seeing that happen. Probably because you should tell your story about getting into the squad, because for all those kids out there that are borderline or think should I keep training, or let's go to Europe and party or do whatever. You didn't have a hey, I'm gifted, look at me go, I'm in this. You sort of came from nowhere. Yeah, do you want to tell your story on how it all happened?
Kind of like every kayaker, I came from a surf background. Like I always did surf as a kid, and my brother and sister, they started doing kayaking to improve their ski leg. And obviously me being a youngest child, can't be left out of anything. I was like, I want to do it too. And I was too young at the time, but my mom was able to convince the coach.
She's to convince him.
I can't get him to shut up. Just let him do it. And then so that's kind of how the kayaking started. And then it went from doing that on the beach at Pizzey Park, where we train now. I was training out there, and I remember seeing the older boys train from there too. And I was always just like watching them. Obviously, when they were paddling past, like, oh, they're giants. Yeah. And then I went away. I started to just focus a bit more on swimming, because I always wanted to be an Olympian. I didn't know how, but I always wanted to. And so I focused on swimming. And then my kayak coach at the time, my kayak coach before I went to just swimming was like, oh, there's this team called the Olympic Hopes. You could potentially make the team. So I was like, why not? And I was like, okay, well, it's in 2 weeks, the trials, like come and jump in a boat. And so that's what I did. And then I made that team called Olympic Hopes. And then we went overseas, and I got a silver and a bronze medal at the Olympic Hope Regatta it was in Poland. And then I came back, and Jimmy, I remember the day I walked into the shed. There's all these guys, it would have been 2015. So they're like, fighting fit, ready for the Olympics basically. And Jimmy's like, oh, this is Tom Green. He just won a silver and a bronze at the Olympic Hopes Regatta, and he's 15. He's coming here to train. I'm like, oh, okay. Like some big people here, some very fit people here. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I just I was out the back door, instantly. And then because there was no in-between group in Queensland, there was no development squad at the time. There was nothing like this that there is now, and this has a big role to do with Kenny. Kenny's part of the development now here in Australia, which is really good. Yeah, so I started out, and so I was kind of just getting thrown around to all these different coaches, and I can actually remember how many coaches I had. In 2 years, I had 6 different paddle coaches. So and all of them were completely completely different.
Yeah, that's tough.
I did a lot of work with Curtis McGrath in the preparation for Rio. I did K2. I was in the K1 with the K2 girls as well. I was training with them every now and again. Some sessions I'd go to, the senior men's squad, and I'd get absolutely teed up. And then just these two other coaches where I'd go and like get trained by, and they'll just be in a tinny, like they're not getting paid a cent. They're just doing it because they know the sport. They've been in it before.
Awesome in that.
Yeah. And then and then 2017 I made the team. I just made the under 18s team, and they only took me out of selectors' discretion because I was slow. I was pretty big too. I was nearly 103 kilos. I was definitely, I call it a growth spurt, but it was the other direction. And then they took me overseas. They actually tried to get me to. I had to sign a waiver to go overseas because I had bulging discs. I had some back pain, and I got an X-ray, and then they're like, "Oh, you're not allowed to go. You got to pull off the team. Your back's the age of a 70-year-old." I'm like,
wow.
and then it turns out that a lot of people that do a sport that are sitting in a slumped position generally get their backs look a little different. Yeah. And then it went away, and I had to sign this waiver. And then I came home when we competed. I was like, we just got teed up. I'm slow. I was like, well, if I'm gonna make the 23s team next year, I'm gonna have to make some like big jumps. So this was going into 2018, and then I came home. I was like running and riding in between each session, like trying to train with the big boys, I like to say back then, and kind of just flogging myself. And then Kenny was like, "Oh, the boat you're in is too small. Like you need a bigger boat." And he goes, "Oh, here's a boat to use." So Kenny got me a boat that actually fit me, thanks to Nello Australia and Jimmy and all them. And then I was kind of I overcompensated to make the 23s team, and I made the senior team when I was 18.
So just skip 23s altogether.
Yeah, so I still went and competed, and we got gold in the K2 with a guy called Joel McKittrick. Yeah, and then that senior worlds we got 4th in the K4, and then I was like, oh, next year I want to get K1. I want to get the K1 spot. And then I was training for that, and then I got the K1 spot. Then I was unfortunate I wasn't able to race it at the World Champs because we had to qualify positions onto the Olympic team. And then I was like, after that, I was obviously pretty angry. I was like, this is not going to happen again. I'm going to make the senior team for the K1000. That's what I want to do. They threw Jean and I together because we thought that because we had 2 K2s, 2 K1s, 1 K4. It was the first time it was ever being able to be done at an Olympics. So yeah, that's what we did. And then because of that, Jean and I, we started training the K2, and then we went and we made the team for the K2. We won the first selection race, and then the second selection race we got second. And then that's kind of where we got in 2020 or 2019 for 2020. And then we had that extra year to try and refine what we were as a K2 and what I was doing in the K1 to be able to work on that. And it was a long break, a long period. But so
what's a day like for you? I mean, you obviously in your sport you've got your individuals, your K2, your K4 type concepts. So how much time do you spend in your own boat, and how much time do you spend with others?
Well, the way that we do it is you build your base in the K1. So that's how it's like going for a run versus going for for a kayak, right? Yeah. For a K2. So you build your base in the K1, you build your speed, your endurance, all this in the K1, and then you come together in the K2 to obviously work on that together in the pair, but as well as like get comfortable with one another. So we'll do leading into the games, we'll do basically every session will be K1 apart from 2 sessions in K2. On a Saturday it'll be a split session. You'll do K1 and K2, so 3 I guess. So we do all of our work in the K1, our speed endurance, our anaerobic threshold, our lactate tolerance, all this stuff. So so I guess it's a fine line, and it's a balancing act from our support staff, from our coaches that are able to make that possible for us to be able to not be fresh, because you're never going to be fresh until the week of your race or the day of your race. But it's just trying to keep it all working together and all working for each other, rather than having something take away from your performance in the K1 or in the K2. So it's just a really fine balancing.
Yeah, nice.
Really fun line.
And mate, do you guys paddle through injuries? You paddle through, or is it one of those sports that you need to address something very quickly?
Well, obviously everything you've got to address it as fast as you can. And majority of our stuff is all injury prevention.
Because you talked about bulging discs in a boat.
Yeah.
Was that 5 years before the Olympics?
That would have been 6 years. That would be 2016. Sorry,
Yeah, that's
2017.
That's a big play.
That's the thing is we don't have a policy around it. But for me, I try and train through everything I can, right? Like I try and train through sickness, through injury, and
that'd be a bit of the Kenny Wallace book of how to be an athlete, wouldn't it?
Well, I paddled
if you're not
with
training, you better be dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. And I nearly pushed myself there. I had,
that's really good.
Yeah, well, leading into the games, I had chronic tonsillitis for over 6 months, and it was undiagnosed. Even though I'd spoken to the doctor saying, "Hey, I've got tonsillitis. Can I get some antibiotics?" And somehow they just kept saying I don't have it. And then it got to a stage where I was like, I can't breathe in training. Like I'd keep going, but I'd be holding my breath for, what felt like an eternity at the time. And then I was like, I want an ENT appointment. Like I want to hear it from an actual specialist. And as soon as I went in there, he's like, this is bad. You've got chronic tonsillitis. These need to be out.
It wasn't an easy journey to that gold medal, was it?
No, it wasn't, but I guess that's also what makes it so much more worth it. Yeah. So
speaking of that, being a 21-year-old athlete, 22?
I was 21.
Birth date around that
time.
Yeah,
22 for the games. Yeah.
So is the gold medal everything you thought it was? Like, do you paddle for a different purpose now? I mean, the gold medal is obviously the ultimate dream. You've got that. You're 22 years old. What is getting you out of bed now? I mean, you did things a little differently. You got a gold medal and went on a trip overseas. You didn't come back and do the media and all the things that a lot of athletes do, and we love it. We love athletes coming home and being there for us.
Yeah.
You took a different path. You wanted time and did your thing. I do a lot of studies in relation to, happiness scores and all that type of stuff. Now that you've got a gold medal, and it's not the major driver as to why our happiness is, but getting it would have been the most epic thing that ever happened in the world. I'm not talking about that. Is that still your driver?
Oh, 100%. Something like around that. So Jean and I, we got the Olympic record in the heat, and we beat the Germans that were non-defeated.
Yep.
And both Jean and I had the mindset of, all right, let's forget about this. Let's just totally forget about it. Didn't happen. Let's focus on the next race. And for me, since being back, as much as, sharing that success and that medal with, the people that are around me, the people that have supported me, to be honest with you, I just kind of forget about it, because at the end of the day, it is just, it's just a medal, but the result, obviously, I paddled down that course. I know what it was like. And for me, that's my internal drive is just, do your job, I guess. And, but now the thing that's getting me out of bed is I want to I want to repeat, obviously I want to repeat that. And I guess also obviously I haven't forgotten about it, but I just, put that to bed. That's what happened then. And, I don't want to, just be a one and done. I want to, push my body to the absolute limit and try and outdo, my last performance, which obviously would be quite hard. And I don't know how, but I think a repeat is definitely a way to do that. And obviously I don't want to just be a repeat. I want to do as much as I can. For me, I just, obviously I just love it. Like I love pushing myself. I love training. I just love everything that comes with it, to an extent. not all the things, but majority of the stuff, and especially the people that I'm surrounded by in my tight knit circle. So I truly just enjoy it, and I've put that result behind me to allow myself to focus on the next one, because there's many ways you can win an Olympic medal, and I want to try and find I don't know, I just want to find more performance out of myself and out of my teammates, and I just try and push myself as well as everyone around me as much as I can, because I think with even coaching and physios and stuff, you as well, we push each other to try and get to extract the highest performance, out of that. And if everyone's running like a well-oiled machine, there's definitely room for improvement. So
that's really cool. When you're at the Olympics, are you getting like drug tested all day, Kenny comes in and says, he used to tell me I've had another so many drug tests, and I go, mate, you are the most drug tested athlete in the world. Since your gold medal, has that your level of being under the microscope exploded?
I guess I can't talk from their perspective, because you would never hear their perspective. They just turn up and they test you. We're getting tested heaps, even through COVID. they just wore a mask. COVID restrictions didn't matter. Many people in your house didn't matter. Like, they were there to get bloods, get urine, and test you. And for me, it's just like it's a good thing, because you want to be racing against people that are clean. And the way that we do it here in Australia is the best and the strictest. There's
gold standard.
Yeah, it's absolute gold standard. And a part of me is annoyed that other countries aren't like that. And there's so many that aren't like strict at all. And obviously we've gone to Hungary, and you'd get tested there, and it's just like, this just would not fly in Australia. Like, this is just so wrong. Like, I guess there is a bit more of a spotlight on myself for that. But again, I can't really tell you. And I've been tested just like normally, because normally I get tested often as well. And I did find it a bit strange. I was the only person to get tested on the podium. Like, so they didn't test Jean, they didn't test the Germans, they didn't test the Czechs. They just tested me for some reason. I'm like, come on, there's a guy that's literally, he's bigger than me, he's huge. And there's another one in the German crew, he's even bigger than me as well. And he's like, lean, and he's strong and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you just test me. Like, what? Why me? Like, test everyone. Yeah, I would have thought they would have tested every single person on the podium, but they didn't. And I guess that's just what they did. But I guess you could say, yeah, there is a bit more of a limelight on me if I was the only one tested there. But yeah, just pretty normal though. We always get tested.
Yeah, because for people out there that don't understand how drug testing works, do you want to explain how you've got to tell people where you are? You've like the whole scenario.
So basically, you get put on this like register where you've got to log an hour time slot for every single day, no matter what. And
it'd be hard for you because you're always late.
Jesus, I was early today.
Yeah.
But so basically, what happens is you got to put an hour time slot every single day, no matter where you are, no matter what country. And then your sport, they have to put out a certain amount of people to get tested. So they'll do that, and then obviously we'll get tested, and then you would get WADA, like the World Anti-Doping Agency they'll be like, we want to test them. And then so basically you can get tested by 3 different bodies: your sport, ASADA, which is Australia, and then Informed Sport, and then WADA as well. And because of that, we have to be extremely strict. Like, you can't, if you're away from home in that time slot, they're not allowed to call you, right? And you've got 30 minutes to turn up. So if you don't turn up, you get 1 strike, and you get 3 strikes, you get a ban, from what I know. So yeah, no, it's pretty strict.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
they turn up everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, legit. Like so we'll be at a hotel in Europe, and because you've got to change obviously your overnight accommodation, but you also have to put a daily activity in as well. So I guess that's 2 hour time slots, right? So not just 1, but you've got to put 2. So you've got to do, say, like 1 hour in the evening, like where you're staying, your overnight accommodation, but then you've also got to put 1 daily activity. So say if you go to work or whatever, you have to put your work address in, or say, obviously for me, I've got my training, like where I'll be in the morning for training. So, and you have to do that. Then you have to log competitions as well. And then obviously then you have to change your accommodation when you're there. And they just, if you get a result when you're at a competition, even if you're not, even if you didn't register where it was going to be, they're there anyway, because they just test, as much as they can.
And do you have to log supplements and all other things as well, or is that more sport related?
Well, so we don't log them to WADA or to ASADA. They do have something where you can look up the like batch numbers and all this. They've also got, things for like recommended stuff. Like they can't. With that word. Yeah, they can't recommend. they can't recommend supplements, but basically it's like if you do, stay away from these. Yep. If you do take them, like these ones, we
have a third-party program.
Yeah, have a third party. Yeah. So, and then, but then also then on top of that, our sporting association. So we log everything. So, I'd get supplements, and then they like, I'll send photos of the front, the flavor, and then the serial number, and they'll log it into this thing called AMS. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me what it stands for. It's probably pretty simple. I don't know. And then basically they're tracking every single supplement you always take, that you always have, just in case, stuff does happen. Then you can, go back to that and check everything, and even supplements that they get us. So sometimes they'll get us like supplements in and around travel, and they'll obviously log that themselves. But then at the end of the day, if they give it to us as well and it's tested,
still your problem.
It's still my problem. So that's why you've got to obviously have a lot of trust, but also just got to be very careful. So
It's a tough gig, isn't it?
Yeah. But hey, it's worth it. Clean sport. But that's the thing is I wish it was like this, everywhere. And obviously there is that standard of you have to test negative, but there's many countries that you would have heard of that have done it for decades. So yeah,
I've no idea what you're talking about.
There's a Netflix series about it. I should watch it. It's good.
Mate, it's been awesome having you on. I could talk to you for hours. You're such a good person. Is there any are we gonna shout out to Mum? Because I mean, people out there wouldn't know, but you're a big mummy's boy. You obviously don't want me to say it that way, but you are a big mummy's boy. Like, your mum is a very cool human.
Well, yeah, of course, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the things that she's done for me. So, the amount of things that she's sacrificed for me is definitely unprecedented. And she takes that all, because it's, it's what she does, it's what she's done for me and my family and my brother and my sister. But, she was she was a shift worker. She was a police officer, and she would get home from work at who knows what time in the morning. And then she'll wake us up and she would take us straight to training, early crack of dawn. And then, and then times she would also, she'll be getting ready for work and she'll take us to training, and then she'll go to work, and then, we'll ride or whatever. So, she's done a lot for me and my family, and, I wouldn't be here without her. And, I've got absolutely, all the time in the world for her. And I want to give back to her as much as I can, but there's just, there's things that I can't do because it's just impossible to give that time and all that she's given me over the years. And also, obviously the financial backing, at the start of my career, where every international trip was paid for yourself, and where, every boat, every paddle, every supplement, every pair of sunnies, every, absolutely everything was all paid for by, obviously my mum. So that's why I'm so grateful for that. You could say I'm a mummy's boy, but I think I really appreciate what she's done for me and who she's made me and my brother and my sister. So, I truly wouldn't be, who I am if it wasn't for my mum and my brother and my sister. So,
mate, I love that.
Yeah.
But I also just wanted to include that so she didn't ring me up and say, why didn't you talk about me and all the good things I did for him.
Yeah, 100%. Just cut that out and I'll send it to her.
That's the best. I remember when you were finishing a sec. I remember when you came in a few days before leaving the Olympics, and I've gone, how you feeling? And you're like, yeah, I'm good. The typical, I'm going to talk it down type stuff that an athlete does. And I remember going, have you prepared your speech for when you win? No, I'll be all right. And I've gone, right. So coming with me, mate, and we went at the back and we grabbed your sups and we did this, and we're out with the girls out the front, and I put the camera on you and started asking you questions, and you're like,
froze.
I'm going, now, dude, there's going to be cameras from all over the world when you win. Let's get this shit right.
Yeah.
The big one was remember to say thanks to Mum.
Yeah.
Because she's been in here. She's a good person, and I know the story you gave. There was a very quick fluffed over one. It's a lot deeper, and she's done some cool shit.
Yeah, no, she has.
She does some cool shit now, and I just love the fact that you just epitomise what your mum built as a young boy into a young man, and you are truly one of the great people in sport. And I think you've got a massive future in giving more to people than just what you achieve on the water. I think you can bring a lot to a lot of people in the future, and I look forward to getting your shit together and making those type of things happen.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Cool. And don't turn up without a coffee ever again.
Hey, you didn't send me a message.
Yeah, I know, but that's average.
But
thanks for coming on.
There's a box down there full of clean coffee.
I've got a heap of coffee. I know. I probably said to you, I've got some coffees.
I was just going to mix up a packet of that clean coffee into a takeaway cup.
I know. It doesn't really look like a normal made coffee because it's got a lot of stuff in it. But thanks for coming on. It's been awesome chatting with you, and I look forward to spending a lot more time.
Awesome. No, thank you. Thank you for having me.